It's Monday, October 9, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Opposition leader Mia Motley accuses Prime Minister Frondell Stewart of playing political football with the welfare of public servants. It comes on the heels of the Prime Minister's comment that he was not yet in a position to speak on the Finance Minister's announcement that the National Social Responsibility Levy had raked in $50 million in revenue in its first quarter. Motley says union leaders have made what she described as a reasonable case for a coping subsidy or pay increase for its members, and the government must now pay up.
And based on Chris Sinclair's attitude in Parliament on Tuesday, Kerry, he is well happy with the take. And if he is happy with the take, then they must be prepared, not on the eve of an election, not on the eve of calling the election, because, Prime Minister, we are already in that zone. 20 weeks left and the Parliament is dissolved. So don't keep people waiting anymore because you want to extract the ultimate political bounty from announcing a pay increase close to the time that you announce an election. The people of Barbados deserve better, and the public servants have waited too long. And it is now that they must get that ease, because people, I tell you, I see it every day, people cannot make ends meet in this country. The sufferation is too much. It is too much. And I ask the Prime Minister now, fight me in the battlefields as you will, but leave the public servants out of this and give the public servants the pay increase or the coping subsidy that they deserve.
The country's economic situation continues to be a source of worry for businesses here. In fact, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry wants government to give Barbadians a full picture of the state of the economy. Speaking on the Sunday edition of the Current Affairs program, Down to Brass Tacks, BCCI President Eddie Abed made clear that it will take all hands on deck to turn the country's current financial situation around.
We require more clarity in this country to see the big picture, not just small pieces that are felt by politicians in particular to be shown so it can promote their agenda one way or the other. I think the entire picture needs to be shown. I think Barbadians, as many of your callers have said, after 60 years of pre-education, can comprehend, they can read and write. They just need to be shown the big picture so they can get a sense of where we are. More importantly, what we need to do to return this country to some level of prominence. We are CCC rated for a reason. We've been downgraded to the lowest level. The next one is default, and you get there and you can't pay your loan. So we're there for a reason, and I think we need to start asking questions. Why are we here, and what do we need to do? Thirdly, and most importantly, the solutions of getting out of here is not government only. All of us need to play a role, including the private sector, including labor, including every citizen, and including government. Governments need to be held to accountable positions.
Mindful that the country is heading into a general election, the BCCI president was adamant that the solutions must be sustainable and realistic.
So I also am being extremely realistic as to what can be done, and I'm hopeful that we don't have this kinds of gimmicks that create short-term employment, that there's a spend that ultimately government cannot afford. So I'm optimistic about the future because I know we have the wherewithal to turn it around. I think that once we see that there is an opportunity, and more importantly, that we want to save our country, we will do the necessary. But I'm extremely concerned that because of an impending election, some non-sustainable stuff will be done, and that frightens me. I'm challenged by that, and I'm hopeful that we have responsible leaders that will recognize that this is not the time to do giveaways.
Mr. Abed made the comments as he spoke on the controversial National Social Responsibility Levy. He says the University of the West Indies Caval campus has been commissioned to carry out a study on the impact of the levy on consumers. Education Minister Ronald Jones says his ruling Democratic Labour Party will make no unrealistic promises to Barbadians in the lead up to the election. He made the comment over the weekend during a mass canvass of the city with DLP political hopeful Henderson Williams and other party officials.
We intend to stay on the path of accuracy and truth, and we are not going to be promising people here with fairy things out of the sky. It's impossible in the kind of economic environment that we have been in for so many years, that we, by the various strategies being done by government and at the party level, that we should be seeing the rewards of all of those strategies we've put in place. In fact, not only are we dealing with facts, but we are dealing with Barbados first. And sometimes in some politicians and in some citizens, that which comes first is the individual. In our instance, we're saying Barbados first, because without Barbados, really, for those who want to stay here and be part of the lifeblood of this community, we have to ensure that Barbados survives and that it meets the needs of its citizens in a real way.
The Barbados Workers Union adds domestic workers to its categories of persons to be represented. Speaking at the launch of the division at the BWU headquarters over the weekend, General Secretary Tony Moore explained that the push is now on for government to ratify an International Labour Organization Convention on the rights of these workers so they can have paid vacations and pensions.
Bringing domestic workers out of the shadows is important, to have domestic workers recognize the importance of what they do. It is not just another thing that's being done. It is one of the jobs that is of foremost importance in the labor market. So it is to ensure that at the end, when we reach 65, 67, 70, whenever is the age that we retire, that there's also some sort of protection in the form of a pension.
Persons who enjoy the seafood delicacy sea eggs will not be able to do so this year. That's because the ban on harvesting the sea eggs remains in effect. Chief Fisheries Officer Stephen Willoughby says the annual survey showed that sea egg stock around the island is very low and cannot support the opening of the fishing season. Fishermen, divers and the general public are asked to desist from harvesting or purchasing sea eggs to allow the stock to recover to levels that will support fishing in the future. Anyone found in possession of sea eggs faces a fine of up to $50,000 and or up to 2 years in prison.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Today's Touch, reaching out to our communities. We continue with news from the region. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for full mobilization of the international community to support hurricane-devastated Dominica and Barbuda. His appeal came following a tour of the two islands over the weekend, even as he stressed the need to accelerate climate action. Expressing solidarity with the people of Roseau, Guterres made it clear that the level of support that the country required could not be achieved through traditional instruments. He says there must now be a review of the way middle-income countries like Dominica that are particularly vulnerable to external shocks are supported with direct support. The UN head said devastation in both countries was proof of the link between climate change and the intensity of hurricanes in the Caribbean. And finally, international law enforcement officers make a huge cocaine haul in the Atlantic, the biggest so far this year. Officials found 3.7 tons of the drug in 165 individual packages on a boat near Portugal. The drugs, which have a $260 million street value, were concealed beneath the vessel's cooking area. It is unclear where the substance was being taken. And on that note, we come to the end of our news update, but there's more on our website at www.barbadistoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on iZubi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good morning.